Stocks closed mixed on Wall Street. The Dow Jones hits a fresh record high while the Nasdaq falls due to a drop in Nvidia's shares. US jobless claims fall on a weekly basis while the second quarter GDP figures get revised higher, calming recession fears. Stocks in the Asia Pacific are trading largely higher as US economic data calms recession fears. The GIFT Nifty, however, is suggesting a lower start for the Indian markets. Crude prices are on the move higher. Brent rises to nearly $80 a barrel as output disruptions from Libya continue. Gold prices rally fueled by expectations of a rate cut by the US Fed in September. A CNBC TV18 poll sees India's GDP growing at 6.8% in the first quarter compared to an 8.2% growth a year ago. Strong growth is expected from industries and agriculture, while services growth is likely to soften. And the DGCA put SpiceJet under enhanced surveillance over safety concerns following deficiencies in an audit of its engineering facilities. The airline has also placed 150 cabin crew members on a 3-month furlough, which it says is a response to a lean travel season and a reduced fleet size. It's the final trading day of the week, and we are back with Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring this morning. It's a good start actually for the Asian indices. It's a positive start for the Hang Seng. It's trading with gains of over 1%. The Taiwanese index also trades with gains of around 0.4% as we speak. Gains also coming in from Japan, where the Nikkei is up 0.6%. The Shanghai Composite in China has opened around 0.5% higher. Gains are also coming in from South Korea as well. The Kospi is trading with gains of 0.7%. So it's green across the screen for the Asian markets. And pull up the GIFT Nifty as well. That, though, is projecting a slightly different picture. It's a muted start. The implied open is suggesting a muted start. It is recovering from the initial projections that was showing a downtick for our own markets. Now 11.5 points higher is what the implied open is suggesting. Remember, the Nifty is up now for 11 days in a row, and the implied open is suggesting another positive start. But this comes on the back of the US markets, which was a mixed session there on Thursday because the Dow Jones closed 250 points higher, made a fresh record high, while the S&P 500 ended just below the flat line, but the tech-heavy Nasdaq was the underperformer, losing around 0.2%. Now, OpenAI is in talks to raise a funding round that would value the artificial intelligence startup at more than $100 billion. Now, reports also say that Apple and Nvidia are likely to invest in that round. Now, on the data front, the number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits fell slightly last week. The jobless claims ticked down by around 2,000 to around 231,000 for the week that ended on the 24th of August. The second quarter GDP report also came in better than expected. The real GDP increased at an annualized 3%, up from the previous estimate of 2.8%. CNBC's Rick Santelli is here to give us all the details.
A revision to the upside. Second quarter, second peak moves from 2.8 on GDP to 3%. 3%. And just to put a face on that, the last quarter of 23 was 3.4. That's where we're comping to on the strength. Consumption also upgraded rather dramatically, 2.9% versus 2.3. 2.9 also comps the last quarter of 23 when it was 3.3. Price index moves up as well to 2.5 from 2.3, and that comps to the first quarter of this year when it was 3.1%. And finally, if we look at the core PCE index quarter over quarter, it's the only metric here that came in on the light side. 2.8 versus 2.9, and of course the recent high watermark was 3.7 in the first quarter of this year.
Supportive macro cues coming in there from the US. Now, I think we'll start seeing rate cuts in September is the view of former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan. Now, he adds that he expects a 25 basis points cut from the Fed in September. Listen in.
I think the labor market report next month will give us a little more certainty, which is what the Fed is waiting for. I think we will start seeing cuts in September. 100 basis points, I think it depends on how severe the slowdown is. Right now, it seems like the beginning of a slowdown. And I think the Fed will want to have more of a sense that this is a more serious slowdown for it to start cutting at the rates that the market anticipates. But, certainly a 25 basis point cut in September seems to be baked in unless the labor market report in September is very strong.
Well, that's all we have on the global market action. But how will all of these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with the trade setup and the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the setup on the F&O side of things. Well, we are coming on the back of 11 days of gains for the Nifty. You pull up the intraday chart. It was turning out to be another dull session for the expiry day. But then at around 2 o'clock, Reliance Industries came out with that announcement that it is planning to consider a bonus issue on the 5th of September. That led to a spike in the stock, and that took the index higher as well. And the Nifty, as a result, made a new record high, which was at around 25,192. Although we reversed slightly from those levels, but we still managed to close above the 25,150 mark, the 11th day of gains for the index. And this is now the longest winning streak that the index has had since September of 2007. And of course, it was Reliance Industries that led the Nifty higher. Almost 1/3 of those gains that came on the index yesterday were courtesy Reliance Industries. The Nifty ending around 100 points higher, almost 35 points of that came from Reliance Industries. But the Nifty Bank is the one that is the pain point for the market. It is struggling to sustain at those highs. Take a look at that. It is making highs every single day, 51,300, 400. Yesterday too, it crossed 51,350, but struggled to sustain above those levels. So the Nifty Bank is the one that you might have to watch out for. Now, for the week so far, the Nifty is up over 1%, and the Nifty Bank, of course, struggling to sustain at the highs, and as a result is an underperformer. And the broader markets, though, are seeing some bit of selling pressure, even as the focus has remained on the Nifty and it making new highs. The advanced decline ratio purely skewed towards the declines. There was a yawning gap that narrowed slightly, but still very skewed towards the decline. Some important cues for today. It's the start of the September F&O series for the Nifty. Vodafone Idea will be in focus because of its curative petition in the Supreme Court. And the Nifty Bank's underperformance might reverse because of the MSCI adjustments that take place today. And HDFC Bank might see some inflows to the tune of nearly $2 billion towards the close of trade. So that might have a bearing on the market as well. For now, the GIFT Nifty is suggesting a slightly sluggish start for our own markets. Over to Abhishek now, who would list out the stocks that you need to watch out for this morning. Abhishek, good morning. What's on your list?
Good morning, Omar. So to begin with, Infosys, they will introduce a high performance, artificial intelligence powered telco solution based on NVIDIA NIM. GST demand notices have been served to LIC for rupees 605.6 crore for the financial year 2020, and also to Shipping Corporation for rupees 160 crore for the financial year 2020. NTPC, their arm NTPC REL, they will start commercial operation of first part capacity of 160 megawatt of the 320 megawatt Binsara solar PV project in Jaisalmer. With this, the total installed and commercial capacity for NTPC will be at 76,294 megawatt. ITI, they have received an order from West Bengal government for 500 sets of EVMs for the West Bengal State Election Commission. Sugar stocks will be in focus given the fact that government has removed the cap on sugar diversification for ethanol production for ethanol supply year 2024-2025. RVNL, they have signed MOU with Patel Engineering for hydro and other infrastructure projects in India and overseas as well. Jacob, they are considering a buyback worth about 177.8 crores. So they will buy back about 29.44 lakh shares at a price of 400 per share. The record date is 10th of September. Lemon Tree, yet another sign that they have done for 72 rooms hotel in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh. 3M India in focus. NCLT approves the merger of ARM, 3M Electro as well as communication with the company. Back to you.
Keep an eye out on all of these names. Abhishek, thanks a lot for that update. And over to Sudarshan now, who joins in with cues from the F&O space. Sudarshan, good morning. Start off a new series for the Nifty. What's the setup looking like there?
Morning, Harma. So first, if I talk about the yesterday's session, good part of yesterday's session was that we did not only hit the record high, but Nifty held on to the levels over 25,100, and that was well supported by Reliance Industries, which announced so many new announcements made in the AGM yesterday. And also, in the process, Nifty has posted gains for 11 consecutive days, which is the longest gaining streak that, as you have said, since 2007, that is since 17 years. For today, GIFT Nifty is indicating getting a start with minor gains. Talking about the September series that we start today, Nifty has been gaining consecutively for last 7 series, and in last 7 series, Nifty has posted gains of almost 18%. Talking about institutional activities, we have seen buy by both FIs and DIs. FIs bought shares of almost 3,300 crore. DIs have bought shares of almost 2,700 crore. Even in index futures, buy figure was more than rupees 3,300 crore. And with this, long contracts have been added by more than 2 lakhs. And with this, long exposure has increased to 70%, which is highest in last 1 month. Talking about the options, 25,200 call has seen addition of more than 6 lakh shares with premium at 363, and on the put side, 25,000 put have seen addition of 13 lakh shares with premium at 229. With this, support for Nifty is seen somewhere around, Nifty is seen forming base around 25,000, and resistance is now seen somewhere around 25,200. Lastly, stocks in focus, 3 stocks that I'll be tracking. First is Vodafone Idea, second is Indigo, and last is Wipro.
Sudarshan, thanks a lot for that update on the FNO side. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you a preview of India's GDP data that is due to be released later today. Stay tuned. Back on the other side. Welcome back. Now, the Indian economy is expected to have grown by 6.8% in the first quarter of the current financial year. That is during the April, May, June quarter. Now, that's according to a CNBC TV18 poll. The numbers will be announced later today at 5:30 p.m. Lata Venkatesh is here with a preview.
Yeah, that's right. Our poll indicated that the GDP may have grown in the April, May, June quarter by 6.8%. And this is over a high base of 8.2% year ago, April, May, June. And the previous quarter, that is Jan, Feb, March, the GDP was 7.8. So either ways, it is low. In fact, if it actually comes at 6.8, it will be the slowest GDP growth in 5 quarters. The last time we grew below 7% was in Jan, Feb, March of 2023, that is FY22. Now, the GVA estimate, gross value add, the poll indicated will come at 6.4, which is rather low. But there is a very small percentage of people who believe that the GVA could be higher. It so much depends on how much subsidies the states have given. If some of the states have given more subsidies, the GVA could be even higher than the GDP. The agriculture part is expected to have grown by 2.9%. Industry is still expected to be strong, growing by about 8%. And services are expected to be softer at between 6 and 6.5%. The services were soft because, if you remember, April, May, June were both election months and, more importantly, very hot months. It was an El Nino summer, and therefore a lot of services could not be rendered in that kind of a heat. Full year GDP, most economists believe, will be below 7%. But of course, they will modify their numbers after they see the first quarter. The Reserve Bank, you must remember, expects the GDP to have grown by 7.1%. And for the full year, they are highest on the street at 7.2. But we will know at 5:30 on August 30th what the actual numbers are.
Lata, thanks a lot for that. On to some news from the aviation space now. Safety concerns mount for SpiceJet as the DGCA has put the airline under enhanced surveillance with immediate effect. Now, this comes after a special audit of SpiceJet's engineering facilities over the 7th and 8th of August revealed certain deficiencies. Now, this will imply a higher number of spot checks and night surveillance to ensure safety of operations. The airline has also placed 150 members of its cabin crew on furlough, which it says is in response to a lean travel season and a reduced fleet size. Now, during the furlough period, the cabin crew will continue to retain their status as SpiceJet employees. Now, Zepto has shaken the quick commerce landscape yet again with a fresh $340 million top-up to take its total fundraising in 2024 to over $1 billion at a valuation of $5 billion. Now, the funding comes as the 3-year-old startup expands rapidly and prepares its balance sheet for a possible IPO with a realistic timeline of 2025 or 2026. Now, in an exclusive chat with Shireen Bhan, co-founder and CEO Adit Palicha said that the sweet spot to hit the public markets will appear once the company starts to generate significant free cash flow. Listen into a slice of that conversation.
How IPO ready do you feel today? And you know, what are going to be the next sort of pieces that you focus on before you actually get ready to file the DRHP?
I honestly think it's just like a matter of, you know, when do we see the right sweet spot of, hey, we're inflecting. We think that we're going to get into, harvest significant amounts of, free cash flow in like a relatively short period of time. That's, I think, the right spot to go public. And look, it's a commercial strategic call. Yeah. I think that happens in, probably sooner than even I anticipated. Yeah. And, we're a fast company. So if we take a call to go public, we'll go public very quickly. But yeah, I think 2026, potentially even late 2025 is a realistic timeline. And our focus would be build excellence and controls and make sure that you have a high, it's not about profitability today. Yeah. It's about, do you have, because, break-even-ish is not what people are betting on. They're betting on, can you generate 300, 400, 500 million dollars of free cash flow in like a reasonable period of time. And so once we see that inflection point, we'll say, that's the right time to go public.
I know you're doing the rounds of the investor conferences, Adit, Goldman Sachs, Motilal Oswal. What are the questions that they're asking you? Are they excited about the anticipated IPO?
Look, I think, fortunately, there is excitement. I think, obviously the public guys have less detail on our bottoms-up numbers versus the private guys do. I think, one thing I'd say for sure is that, meeting the ecosystem 2021, when we were just getting started versus 2024, I feel like there's just a much deeper understanding of what quality internet companies look like and what bad internet companies look like. And the questions that are being asked are much deeper, right? So today you'll have discussions on, okay, if the atomic unit of your business is the store, what's the return on equity mechanics of the store? What's the return on equity mechanics for every customer that you're acquiring? What's the CLTV to CAC on that? So you're having really thoughtful, deep conversations. And we've really been, excited about the way the public markets, not just like understand our business. And I think, obviously they're richly valuing this space, but it's not coming from just like some random thought process, right? It's actually coming from like an understanding of, the mechanics of this business financially, but more importantly, the value for customers.
And a growing conviction in the fact that this business will actually work and take off, because that wasn't the case 2 years ago.
For sure. Look, I think I would say it's half the business model, but also half the execution, right? I think like folks are, there would have been a very real world 2 years ago when people had skepticism on this business model, and it would have failed. Like if we didn't execute, and it's not just Zepto, it's, all the players in the space that did well. We've really just, executed a very difficult business model. And we're getting rewarded for that.
In fact, you can catch excerpts of this exclusive interview with Adit Palicha, the co-founder and CEO of Zepto, all day today, only on CNBC TV 18. Time for a short break. Up next, cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned. Back on the other side. Back with us here on Power Breakfast. Manisha Gupta now joins in with all the updates on the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. What are you tracking this morning?
Well, I'm looking at the crude oil prices, which are now headed for a second monthly decline. The ongoing China demand concerns, support from supply disruptions in Libya at near 1 million barrels per day. Iraq is also looking to cut output. So those are a couple of factors that the markets will be looking at. In the meanwhile, the street will also watch out for the first week of September, when the OPEC will talk about gradually phasing output cuts of about 2.2 million barrels per day from the month of October itself. Well, the only thing that really seems to be shining bright is the gold prices, trading very near to its all-time highs of $25-30 an ounce. Remember, it is also the U.S. inflation data today, and much cues would come in from that. Within the metal sector, copper prices seem to be declining today. Coal is today trading at a 4-week lows. Copper prices fell 2% overnight. Steel fell 2% overnight as well. Aluminum, zinc also have started the Asian markets in the negative right now. So energy and industrial metals on the weaker side. Gold is the only one that really seems to be doing well today. And apart from everything else, it's sugar because of the government notifications yesterday. International sugar prices have been surging. The Indian sugar price is also expected to open firm today.
Keep an eye out on sugar stocks. Manisha, thanks a lot for that. And that's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.